Hey guys, welcome back. It's me Swastika, and in today's video we will be going through the current affairs for July 31st and August 1st. So before we move on, let me just tell you a little about myself. I have done my masters in political science from Jawaharlal Nehru University. I have also done my BA honors in political science from Delhi University. In case you like my content, please don't forget to press the subscribe button, which is the red button at the bottom of the video screen. So, as usual, we will first be discussing some short news that can be asked in objective questions and objective format questions. And in the second part, we would be discussing the editorial, in which we would mostly be discussing things from a subjective perspective. So, in short news, we see that the gold demand falls to an 11-year low according to the World Gold Council. So, we are seeing a 70% decline in the first quarter. The second thing we see is that China is conducting drills in the South China Sea, and these drills are basically high intensity naval training. The next thing we see is that output of 8 core industries is shrinking further, and the fertilizer industry is the only industry which saw an actual growth, and the steel sector was by far the worst hit. In the next thing, we see that there is a tripartite agreement between United Kingdom, India, and Nepal. So this was basically a treaty signed in 1947 concerning the rights of Gorkhas in military service. In 1947, India became independent from the United Kingdom, and it was decided between the two governments to split the Gurkha regiments between the British and the Indian armies. So, 6 Gurkha units became part of the new Indian army, while 4 were transferred to the British army. As part of this arrangement, it was agreed that Gurkhas in British and Indian service should enjoy broadly the same conditions of service to ensure that there was no unfair advantage to serving in one or other, thus maintaining economic stability and social harmony in the Gurkha recruiting areas. Thus, the governments of United Kingdom, India, and Nepal came to sign the tripartite agreement. Short news. So, in the next piece of news, we see that NASA has launched the Mars rover Perseverance to look for signs of ancient life. Atlas V rocket lifted off from the Kennedy Space Center with NASA's Perseverance rover on its way to Mars on July 30, 2020. This is the world's third and final Mars launch of the summer. 2 other NASA land rovers were also operating on Mars, and this include 2018's InSight and 2012's Curiosity rover. 6 other spacecrafts are exploring the planet from orbit, 3 from US and 2 from Europe and 1 from India. So this is basically the Mars Perseverance rover, which is going to look for signs of ancient life on Mars. So Perseverance will basically aim for treacherous, unexplored territories. Zerozo crater, which is a crater which is riddled with boulders, cliffs, dunes, and possibly rocks, bearing signs of microbes from what was once a lake more than 3 billion years ago. Perseverance will also release a mini helicopter that will attempt the first powered flight on another planet and test out other technology to prepare the way for future astronauts. US is to come up with a Gandhi King initiative. This is the next piece of news in which we will seek to establish an exchange program between India and USA to study the work and legacies of Mahatma Gandhi and civil rights leader Martin Luther Jr. King. It will establish annual scholar and student exchange programs for Indians and Americans to study the leaders' legacies and visit historic sites in India and US relevant to the India's freedom struggle and the US civil rights movement. The bill will also seek to establish the Gandhi King Global Academy, a conflict resolution initiative based on the principles of non-violence. It proposes the establishment of US India Gandhi King Development Foundation set up by US Agency for International Development and Government of India organized under Indian law. AIM iCrest. Atal Innovation Mission launched AIM iCrest in partnership with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Wadhwani Foundation. It's basically an incubator capabilities enhancement program for a robust ecosystem which focuses on creating high performing startups. So AIM iCrest has been designed to enable the incubation ecosystem and act as a growth hack for AIM, Atal and established incubators across the country. Under the initiative, the AIMS incubators are set to be upscaled and provide requisite support to foster the incubation enterprise economy that will help them to significantly enhance their performance. These will be complemented by providing training to entrepreneurs through technology driven processes and platforms. The next is NEP. I have done a video on this that you can refer to for news as it is. So the cabinet has approved the renaming of MHRD to Ministry of Education. The last NEP was that of 1986 and was modified in 1992. The current policy is based on the report filed by the committee headed by eminent space scientist K. Kasturi Rangan. So, if you want to look at the earlier NAPs and the ideas that they included, you can also look at one of the videos that I've uploaded on higher education in post-independence India. NEP 2020 policy envisages 100% gross enrollment ratio in school education by 2030. So the merits of NEP 2020 are that A, it's comprehensive, it seeks to address the entire gamut of education from preschool to doctoral studies and from professional degrees to vocational training. B, early childhood education. In adopting a 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 model for school education starting at age 3, NEP recognizes the primacy of the formative years from ages 3 to 8 in shaping the child's future. Easy on regulations. NEP 2020 makes a bold prescription to free our schools, colleges, and universities from periodic inspections and places them on the path of self assessment and voluntary declaration. Holistic. The policy aims to establish aims to eliminate problems of pedagogy, structural inequities, access symmetries, and rampant commercialization. It wants to promote inclusion. The policy proposes creation of inclusion funds to create socially and educationally disadvantaged children so that they can pursue education. Like all the other policies, it has certain challenges as well. One is cooperation from states. Any educational reform can be implemented only with support from the states, and the center has the giant task of building a consensus on the many ambitious plans. The idea of a national higher education regulatory council as an apex control organization is bound to be resented by states. Inadequate check on donations. Fee regulations exist in some states even now, but the regulatory process is unable to rein in profiteering in the form of unaccounted donations. Funding. Progress on these crucially depends on the will to spend in the promised 6% of the GDP as public expenditure on education. So the next editorial we see, article from the editorial page we see, is that the UN's recent report on the state of food security and nutrition in the world 2020 projected that sustainable development goal of zero hunger by 2030 will not be met. So this is a recent UN report titled The State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World, and this says that the sustainable development goal of having zero hunger by 2030 will not be met. Almost 194.4 million people in India are undernourished according to the State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World 2019 report by FAO. What are the four pillars of food security? So the Food and Agriculture Organization states that the four pillars of food security are availability, access, stability, and utilization. Some measures that anyway have been taken to meet our food security demand is the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. I have discussed this extensively, and in this free grain will basically be distributed to the poorest of the poor so that they are not left hungry. It is supposed to cost us a 1.7 lakh crore. Obviously, it has a lot of challenges like poor distribution to the by states. Almost 8 lakh tons of food grains had been allocated for distribution under the scheme in March, but the states were able to distribute only 1.07 lakh tons of that till May. So this means that the states are not in a position to adequately disburse and distribute the food grains. Inadequate focus on the four pillars of food security. While the government is ensuring availability, access to food grains and utilization are the areas that government has underperformed and needs immediate attention. The FAO recommends improved information systems and collaborating with the private sector to solve distribution problems. One obviously is nutrition centric programs like the Integrated Child Development Program ICDS and midday meals need to keep going strong even though Anganwadi centers and schools might not be open. So midday meals need to still be keep given and they still need to be disbursed even if the schools are not open. Interstate collaboration and learning can be a viable solution to India's case. For example, states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Odisha have responded well even during the lockdown times by providing dry ration under these schemes from door to door. Direct cash transfers into the accounts of eligible beneficiaries have worked in states like Rajasthan to reduce stunting, wasting, and underweight amongst children that can be launched at a national level. So, thank you for listening to me. In case you like my content, please don't forget to press the subscribe button. That's the red button at the bottom of the video screen. You can also comment your doubts down below. Thank you.